really good shape. Oh my God.
That's how I know if everybody's really listening. Okay, I know we're at regulations, and this is just as boring as it can be. Work with me a little bit here. Equipment, instrument, and certification requirements. Civil requirements, flight manual, markings, placard requirements. So many times, pilots remember, and in the test, like I said, I taught the class and then I took the test. I think that's a fair way for all of us together to know if it included all the material that you needed or not. But you remember where it had that acronym AERO, and it said, what did the A stand for in AERO? And there was only one that made sense. I think mostly everybody got it right. But AERO, I got airworthiness certificate, registration, radio operator permit if I need one, operating limitations, right? And then weight and balance. Too many times I hear pilots saying that O in AERO is POH. It's operating handbook. But really it's not. I need to have all of the placards as well. That placard, that little sticker on the dash that says no smoking, it's obvious. Yes, I know. That has to be there. This rule says it has to be there. And if it doesn't say no smoking, then I'm not in compliance with that rule. Well, the FBI isn't looking through the windshield of our Cessnas to see if a no smoking sign is on there. But I'm just telling you, all the placards and everything else has to be on there, right? Okay, no person may operate a civil aircraft unless it has an appropriate current airworthiness certificate and an effective U.S. registration certificate. Airworthiness certificate, they never expire. Woo! All right, registration, these didn't used to expire, and now they expire every 3 years. Do you guys have to get new license plates every year? No. When you get your license plate on your car, what is it, good forever? Every vehicle I have, to include my trailer and my motorcycle, I have to get a new sticker, not a new license plate. They just give me a sticker, right? I got to get a new sticker every year. Well, the reason why is they're just getting money out of us. It's control. That's what they're going to disguise it as, right? They're going to say, well, we're just going to make sure that you're still using the vehicle, that you still have insurance, that you're still certified to drive the dumb thing, that you didn't change your address. Yeah, right. You want them $100, right? There's 500,000 people that live in Broward County. We're all giving you $100 every 12 months. That's a sweet payday, right? So anyhow, that used to be that we didn't have registration renewals for airplanes. Now every 3 years. I expect it to go to one at one point in time, but every 3 years for airplanes, you've got to get a new registration, okay? They actually send you, it's a card, and that's it. Yeah. Now the sticker is a Customs and Border Patrol sticker. They get money out of us too if you want to fly the dumb thing overseas. And what's right next door to Fort Lauderdale? Bimini, the Bahamas, all sorts of beautiful islands. I can show you guys all the nice islands. And some of them are pretty good with a sweet price too. But anyway, yeah, that's where you get your sticker for that. Going on. No person may operate a U.S. registered civil aircraft unless there's an available and current airplane flight manual or approved manual material, markings, placards, or any combination thereof. Whatever the FAA, whatever the manufacturer certified that airplane to have with it, to include updates, because these things do get updated. That's what I have to use. That's what I have to have available to me right then, right there. Now I have, if you look online, you'll find a Cessna 172 November model POH that you can download in PDF. I think it comes from Wyman.com or RedSchoolOrient.com. I don't even know what website this thing comes off of, right? Because it's usually protected material. But they have PDFs of this for training airplanes. Pilots, students like to download it and read about it before they show up, so they know a little bit about this airplane they're getting ready to spend 10 days to fly and get a certificate. You got to exercise a little bit of caution, because there's different revisions and they change in the procedures of exactly how you do it. Before I leave, if you guys want me to, I can email you a copy of the current PDF copy for that AFM, and that way you can start looking at general, how much does it weigh, what's the takeoff speed, how do I take off in it, what's the starting procedure. You can show up and kind of know a little bit what you're doing. And then what I did, especially when I was younger, is I would sit in a chair. When I was learning how to fly, I would sit in a chair exactly like this chair. And I would literally, nothing in front of me. My parents thought I was on drugs. I would reach down, I'd set the fuel selector valve, I'd put the mixture rich, I'd set my throttle, turn the carburetor heat on. Yeah, I would do everything that I was supposed to do. Shoot, I was wearing, I actually didn't have any headsets back then, but I was wearing something that made me look like Tom Cruise, man, 15 years old, I'm doing this thing. The first day I started taking lessons, guess what? I got in the airplane, I knew how to start it. I knew how to start the airplane, and the instructor looked, how'd you do that? Man, I've been reading, you know? All right, anyways. So I got to have all this stuff. Instrument and equipment requirements. You guys remember we did this one? There was an acronym that I put on the board a little bit afterwards. That's fine, because acronyms are fun. A, tomato, flames, F, right? But I need to know what kind of equipment I need. This is all listed up here. As far as visual flight rules and during the day, the following instruments and equipment are required. I have to have a magnetic compass, airspeed indicator, altimeter, tachometer, manifold pressure gauge, right? If I have a constant speed propeller, oil pressure, oil temperature, fuel gauges, and a landing gear indicator. So I'm not going to have that one because I have a fixed pitch propeller. I'm not going to have that one because the gear is permanently down and welded. Okay? Magnetic compass, airspeed indicator, altimeter, tach, oil temperature and pressure, fuel. That's what I need. Okay? All right. Take a look at what else we need here. Equipment, instrument and equipment requirements. Small civil aircraft. Certificated after 96, I got to have an anti-collision light. Or if it's operated for hire. Well, definition of hire is if that airplane is working and somebody is paying a company to use it. Okay? So flight training, guess what? They're all being operated for hire. I need to have an approved red or white anti-collision light on when the engine's running. The aircraft is operated for hire over water and beyond gliding off distance. I need to have flotation devices, either a life raft or a life vest. Could be either one of those. An approved safety belt for everybody over 2 years of age. If somebody has a baby, that's fine. They can hold the baby in their hand. Okay? True story, our King Airs have 10 seats. We take 2 pilots, me and another pilot. That leaves me with 8 seats, right? Hurricane Michael, or whichever one, came through and destroyed NASA, or destroyed Freeport and Treasure Key. Did you guys watch any of that? I mean, I'm pretty sure that made some pretty big news. That place is still a mess. Well, not uncommon that people will leave South Florida in every different direction. And from a charter standpoint, we kind of like it because people start paying big money for lots of charter flights to get the hell out of Florida. So we get this this group that has 9 people, and the charter coordinator told the person, okay, listen, we can take them, but you're telling me that one of them is a baby, right? Because the lady said, yeah, okay, there's 8 of us, and then we have a baby. Okay. I don't know, new person on the job, whatever happened. They showed up. The baby weighed probably as much as me. I'm like, that's a big-ass baby. Okay? So anyways, 2 years or younger, then mom can hold her, dad can hold it. If it's this tall, walking on its own and chubby, no, okay? All right. For small civil aircraft manufactured after July 18th, an approved shoulder harness. So we have shoulder harnesses on all the airplanes. If it's there, wear it. You have to wear it. Emergency locator transmitter. Normal utility acrobatic. I need to have seating configuration including 9 or less manufactured. Each front, a shoulder harness for each front seat and each additional seat. So basically that just says that I got to have shoulder harnesses in these things. I have an anti-collision light. If I'm operating for higher and I'm going beyond gliding distance to land, I got to have flotation device and emergency locator transmitter. Here, let's talk about that VFR flight at night again. The following instruments or equipment are required. Position lights, fuses. I don't know why they still say fuses. Because you don't have a fuse in that airplane. You have a circuit breaker. Exactly like we have in our house. Turn it on, close the circuit breaker, everything works, okay? If the circuit overloads, it pops the circuit breaker and then it opens that circuit breaker. You can reset it without physically changing a fuse. So we have circuit breakers in the airplanes, and that's what we use instead of fuses, okay? Position lights, fuses, anti-collision lights, an alternator, source of energy, and a landing light. It says recommended, and it's required if we're operating for higher. So you could land without a landing light if you don't have anyone on board that's paying for it. All right? Well, that's the equipment that you need for VFR flight at night. ELTs. We talked the last 2 days just real quick about ELTs, but now that we're talking about the rules of, is everybody okay with that term ELT? This is kind of common, not too bad. Transmits on 121.5. All right, so it broadcasts my location, and search and rescue could find me based on that broadcast. Batteries have to be replaced or charged when the transmitter has been in use for more than 1 hour, or 50% of the useful life has expired. These batteries on the ELTs have a stamp on them. And it says, this is the date when it was created. This is the date when it's no good. So halfway between those two dates, if I reach the halfway point, got to replace it. All right. Sunrise, sunset. What are we doing? What kind of lights go on? Position lights, okay? From what I hear, and I've been told quite a bit, and I think this is fun, St. Petersburg, it stays daylight for quite a long time. Does the same thing in Alaska. So they make special rules here for Alaska. No person may operate an aircraft in Alaska during the period of prominent unlighted object cannot be seen from a distance 3 statute miles away, or the sun is more than 6 degrees below the horizon. So they get some complicated rules. That last part about Alaska, if you want to just kind of forget that you ever heard that, that's fine. Sunset to sunrise is the real thing. That's when exactly I'm going to turn these position lights on. If you know that, no one's going to challenge you in the training environment if you don't know how to fly in Alaska, because that is one of those special type training, those specialty type training. Okay? Supplemental oxygen. Haven't talked about it yet. Nah, I don't think at all. We said that there were partial pressures, and I said that all of the atmosphere contained 21% oxygen basically, and I didn't lose any oxygen as I went up, but just the pressures were different. My body could no longer absorb it. That's true, absolutely true. For unpressurized airplanes, which is what we fly, these things are not pressurized. I have some rules pertaining to how high I can fly this airplane without using additional oxygen, right? So, cabin pressures above, okay, not at or above, but cabin pressures above 12,500 feet and up to and including 14,000, okay? I have to have supplemental oxygen if I'm up there for more than 30 minutes. So if I'm VFR, well, we have to be VFR. Plus 12,500 is a VFR cruising altitude. We hit on that one tomorrow. But if I'm VFR 12,500 feet exactly, I don't need to wear an oxygen mask. If I go above that, I need to wear an oxygen mask. Okay, yeah, 1 foot above, all right, I get you there. It's like kind of weird. But once I go above 12,500 feet and I stay there for more than 30 minutes, I got to wear an oxygen mask. Now, please, nobody ask me if you can stay above it for 29 minutes and then come back down, how long do we need before we go back? There's no rule on that, okay? It says for more than 30 minutes, I'm going to say it's for the whole flight, so don't ask, okay? All right, and once I go above 14,000 feet, I have to have supplemental oxygen on, okay? A mask with approved oxygen flows in and then will sufficiently supply me with oxygen during that trip. When I'm above 15,000 feet, I have to make oxygen available for my passengers. Now, the funny joke on this one is, maybe I got my wife's mom in the back seat, and I tell her it's there. If she doesn't want to put it on, I'll just let her sleep, right? She doesn't have to put it on, I suppose, but I need to make it available for her. All right. We'll talk more on that with hypoxia tomorrow. Going back into operations in Class Charlie airspace. Communication. Each person operating in Class Charlie must meet specific two-way communication requirements. I cannot operate an aircraft within Class Charlie unless I have the applicable equipment specified in 91-215. This tells me if I'm flying inside or above Class Charlie, I need that Mode S transponder now. That rule changed about 6 weeks ago. So it's Mode S transponder. If I fly below the Class Charlie, I don't need that. Plus, I'm not in Class Charlie at that point, so I don't need to talk to them at all. Okay? All right. Otherwise authorized, directed by, equipped, Mode S, all this stuff, equipped with, and transmitting pressures. Okay, here we go. Definitions, Part 91, special flight operations. Category class. How much time did we spend on that one? And there was a nice little test question on it. Almost every written exam is going to hit these. These are what I call gimme questions because you just get the right answer on them. And I need to know this stuff because it helps me with my takeoffs and landings and carry passengers. You know, I got to be in the correct category and class for that. All right. So category, look, with respect to certification, rating, privileges, and limitations of airmen. So airman category or aircraft category. You guys see the difference there? What kind of certificate am I trying to earn in this class? Private pilot. Okay, that's fair. But what category and class? Okay, I heard single engine land, but am I going to fly a rotorcraft single engine? It's airplanes, okay? You're right, fixed wing, that is a term that's used in that. But for category, it's airplanes. So for me to be certified, I want to be certified as an airplane pilot. Okay? Then for class, with airmen, now it turns into, well, what class airplane am I trying to fly? Single engine land, multi-engine land, single engine C, multi-engine C. Does it need a type rating? Right? Then I'd actually have to have an additional rating, not just a class rating, but a type rating. Okay?
Am I able to fly a 777 with a PPA license with a rating?
With type rating?
In non-commercial
you can. 100% guaranteed you can. Problems that would exist out of this. That airplane is certified for more than one pilot. And if I intend to fly it to the capability of that airplane, I would require an augmented crew. So now, me and 3 of my good friends all have to be certified and typed on this same airplane. Plus, I need the $1 billion it takes to buy one. So there's some. You're right. I could, but the reason why nobody does it is. Now, the 737, there's a Boeing business jet, and people buy those and usually hire commercial pilots to fly them. What was his name? John Travolta? Yeah, I think he had a Boeing business jet, and he flew it himself. I don't know what his level of certification was because it didn't matter. But Harrison Ford, but he just crashes bi-wing H-1 airplanes out in California. That's all he does. Gets yelled at by ATC. Landed on a taxiway. I'm like, do you know what you call that as a charter pilot? It's called a serious incident, and you have to turn in your certificate because you can't fly anymore after you do that. Anyways. All right, back off and into the real subject here. So category and class with airmen. Doesn't have to be, this should be, I promise you, this should be something that we start talking category and class. You could go, okay, and you got the answer. Right? You're going to probably put some gray matter into this, but you'll get the answer. I want to be certified, and sorry guys, but gliders, rotorcraft, right now in this class, I'm not interested. I'm interested in airplanes only. So I want to be certified as airplane, single engine land. That's my category and class to certify me as a pilot. Well, what kind of airplane am I going to use to do that in? Well, we talked about aerodynamics for a little bit, and I told you that there were some G-load factors, and there was a way for me to load that airplane. We'll talk weight and balance again tomorrow. There's a way for me to load this airplane so I can make it susceptible to higher G-loads, and I can make an intentional spin. But I had to load it into a different category, okay? So the category for airplanes, well, for aircraft, the category for this one is a normal airplane, normal category, airplane class, okay? I could load this exact same aircraft as a utility category airplane. Now we can go out there and turn it into the vomit comet. Now we can spin it and I can watch you puke in a bag. All right. So, normal, that's my category for aircraft. Utility category for aircraft. And then the class, again, I'm only interested in airplanes right now. So I'm thinking airplanes, what else could be out there? All right, rotorcraft, gliders, balloon lighter than air, powered lift, a bunch of different things. Okay. All right. Aerobatic flight. I can't do it here. Any congested area, city, town, or settlement. An open air assembly of persons. Within the lateral boundaries of Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Echo airspace serving a airport. So if it has an airport and any kind of control tower, or the one where Echo goes all the way to the ground, I can't do it over that airport. Within 4 nautical miles of center line of any federal airway. Remember we saw those Victor Airways? I didn't spend a lot of time on that, but I had a V with a number, Victor 1, Victor 3, Victor 159, 267. Underneath there, a little rectangular box with how much miles between the two. Use that primarily for instrument flight. Instrument flight, they're out there a lot. They're supposed to look for VFR traffic, but the expectation is that radar services keeps everybody away from them. So I can't do aerobatic flight in a Victor Airway. Below an altitude of 1,500 feet, at any time the flight visibility is less than 3 statute miles. I cannot fly aerobatic flight anytime that happens, okay?
So you don't have to do it in special training area?
Nope.
And how would pilots like at planes of main air show, how they do aerobatic?
Because they have special authorization. The administrator issues special authorization for them as a participant in that air show. Yep. Questions? Okay. Parachutes, parachuting. Yeah. All right. Well, if I carry a passenger in an aerobatic airplane, my passenger has to wear a parachute. Great. No pilot may allow a parachute that is available for emergency use to be carried unless it's approved type and it has to be packed within the according such and so. If it's composed exclusively of nylon or any of these type of materials that resist mold, then 180 days. Within the preceding 6 days of any part of the parachute is composed of silk, pongee, I don't even know what that is, or any other natural fiber or materials not specified up here. All right? It's probably okay if you forget that one. Nobody's gonna not let you become a private pilot if you don't know what kind of parachute needs to be packed 180 days. I can promise you that. Okay. All right, here we go. More and more. I can't do any intentional maneuver that exceeds a bank of 60 degrees and a nose up or nose down attitude of 30 degrees relative to the horizon. That's high of parachute. When you're doing your stalls, your power on stall, you will probably be right at 30 degrees. From your chair, from your seat, it'll feel like you're in the space shuttle. You're in Galaxy Horizon or something. You're going to blast off. You're about 30 degrees, okay? All right. Restricted category civil aircraft operating limitations. Airworthiness certificates allow them to be operated for specific purpose. Agriculture, photography, mapping, patrolling pipelines, power lines, cloud seeding. An idea that was going to help us reduce storms and clouds and all that. Skywriting and banner towing. Level of safety for restricted category aircraft and lower than the level required for standard category. Except when operating in accordance with terms and conditions of the certificate, may authorize a person to operate restricted category civil aircraft over densely populated areas, congested areas, busy airport. Okay? Again, something you could probably be okay if you forgot. Pipeline survey is a real thing. Skywriting is a real thing. Banner towing is a real thing. If you feel like you want to do it, that's fine. You can operate anywhere except for those couple of areas. Okay? And you won't do it while you're training. All right. Aircraft having experimental certifications. Well, they got a bunch of home builts. RV8s, RV4, RV, I don't even know how many different RVs there are. And then you got Pitts S2 something. There's a lot of different experimental airplanes. These purposes that include, these serve a certain purpose are either research and development, flight testing, air shows, motion picture, air racing, or home-built airplanes. I cannot operate the aircraft as an experimental certificate over a densely populated area or a congested airway. There's a common theme there. I think if anything else, that's what they're trying to get us to hear. Maintenance. This is part 91. Again, these are the 300 series. Now we go into the 400 series. Maintenance, general. Owner-operator is primarily responsible for maintaining the airplane or aircraft. So we got an airplane and it's owned by somebody. That owner is responsible to keep it airworthy. Okay? They have that responsibility. They can't just let this airplane sit on the ramp for past its inspection dates and just melt down out there on the ramp. Okay? They cannot do it. You'll see some that look like they're in pretty bad shape, and the owner is probably either fined or who knows what their specific problem is. I don't know. But the owner or operator is required, not PIC here, that the owner or operator is required to maintain the airplane, maintain the aircraft. That doesn't mean that as PIC, I can say, well, the owner or operator is maintaining it, so I'm just going to go out there and fly it. We remember earlier that the PIC was responsible to go out there and check to make sure that it's done. You still have to check to make sure you have an airworthy airplane. And if any point in time while you're flying the airplane becomes unairworthy, I have to land immediately, as soon as practicable. So at the next airport. Okay? All right. Maintenance required. Owner-operator inspected. Ensure maintenance personnel make appropriate entries in the aircraft maintenance records. Okay? That's what a maintenance record looks like. Date, the aircraft time, what was done, and then this person's name and signature. Now, I'm going to just go out on a limb here. I think there's going to be a good handful of people that know. But this person right here, O.D. Clever, or whatever in the world their name is, can they conduct an annual inspection? This one is, but can this person conduct an inspection? No? Why not? Has to be an inspector. How do I know that's not an inspector? It doesn't say IA at the end of that number. Okay? All right. No, it's just It was out there. We talked about it, I think, day one. Has to be an IA right there. That means that person's an inspector. All right, we're fine. We're going to get into inspections, so let's talk about this. Operation maintenance, preventative maintenance. Now, what do I have here? Private pilot certificate. That person can conduct preventative maintenance. You can do certain things. You can add oil. You can service hydraulic fluid. You can add hydraulic fluid. Do I have any hydraulic systems on the airplane? You sure? I think I do. Brakes. I can add brake fluid to this thing. Okay? There's certain small things that I can do to the airplane. All right? An aircraft has been maintained, rebuilt, altered in a manner that's appreciably changed. Oh, before it goes into the preventative maintenance, if this thing is altered and changed, if it has some sort of major repair, I'll give you an example of major repair. Just one example of, they replaced the wing. Okay? If they took the wing off the airplane and put another wing on, or took the wing off and then did something and put another wing on, or put the same wing back on, then I can't fly this airplane with passengers until it has a flight test. Who can flight test it? Well, any pilot that's appropriately rated. Hey, that's free flight time. And oh, if somebody asks you to do that, however much fuel it has in it, that's how long your flight is, right? Yeah, they're going to ask me to flight test one of these airplanes. I'm going to bring it back with nothing back in it. So make it a long, nice flight. But I can't fly this airplane if it has it has some sort of maintenance done that can change the flight characteristics or substantially affected its operation and flight until an appropriately rated pilot, at least a private pilot certificate, flies the aircraft, makes an operational check of the maintenance performed, and logs the flight in the aircraft records. So after major maintenance, it has to have a flight test, and that has to be logged. But then, no person may operate aircraft underground maintenance, preventative maintenance, rebuilding or alteration unless they've been approved, returned for service. So after I do that, any kind of maintenance, and they say I could repack wheel bearings, there's a long list of things that I could do as a private pilot on my own airplane or an airplane that I'm flying. Once I do that, I have to have maintenance sign off that it has been done properly. Okay, it has to have a log entry. Adding oil is not a logged entry. Okay, you'll put that on the dispatch sheet that you added a quart of oil. All right, inspections. 12 calendar months, annual inspection. Approved return to service. Entered as annual inspection and required maintenance records. That person's name will have an IA next to the number that they write in there. I can't operate it for hire or give flight instruction unless the preceding 100 hours time in service I've had a 100-hour inspection. Okay? You can go over the 100 hours if you're flying to the airport where the maintenance will be conducted. But if I go over the 100 hours, then I have to return back to the regular schedule. So here I got an airplane that has 592.3. So 592.3, we had an annual inspection. Correction, we had a 100-hour or an annual inspection. They both count as a 100-hour. Okay? After 100 hours, I'm due for another 100-hour inspection. So at 692.3, I got to stop flying that airplane. For hire anyways, or for flight instruction, because that's for hire. Now, if I'm not at the airport where I get my maintenance done, I can fly to that airport, and that extra time is allowable. This is perfectly fine. But my next inspection comes back to 792.3. It doesn't matter that I went over by 692.3. I go right back to that original 100 hour. Every 100 hours, you need to have the inspection completed. Okay?
You can extend it, you can make it even shorter.
You could make it shorter if you didn't do, and trust me, when you guys, you're going to like Joe, but you also hate Joe. When I talked to him today, so anyways, he's going to run this thing all the way out to the very, very end. Because people are using them all day long. It doesn't make sense for them to be sitting in the hangar and get maintenance. But if I get this thing done at 592.0, well, the next one is due at 692.0. So if I get it done a little early, it's still, no matter what, every 100 hours I have to have that inspection. All right. 100-hour limitation may be exceeded by not more than 10 while en route to reach a place where the inspection can be done. The excess time must be included in computing the next 100 hours in time and service. So there it goes, 592.3. Apparently they got this one done at, they went over just a little bit, 702. Now the next one is due at 792.3. Okay. If I get I touched on something earlier. If I get an annual inspection, that also resets the 100-hour inspection, because this is an inspector that did that. If I do a 100-hour, well, it doesn't reset the annual at all. This could be just a regular maintenance technician that does this. Okay. Okay, maintenance and alterations, maintenance repairs. Each owner-operator records maintenance, preventive maintenance, alteration records, 100-hour, annual, progressive, and other required approved inspections. Altimeter, here we go, the advisory or the airworthiness directives. Each registered owner-operator shall keep aircraft maintenance records. The records must include current status of applicable airworthiness directives to include for each the method of compliance with the AD, and if the AD involves recurrent actions, when's the last time that's been done? What did I say that AD was, what it was similar to? What is an airworthiness directive? Remember the Toyota floor mats? Remember I was talking about, I bought a Toyota. I don't have a Toyota. But I buy a Toyota, and then as I'm trying to drive this thing, people start noticing that the floor mats stick under the accelerator pedal, and they start crashing them because they couldn't make the vehicle stop the way they wanted it to. So what did Toyota do? They issued a recall and gave everybody new floor mats. That was just something that a ground vehicle, something that doesn't require flight, they could do that. It's a recall. The FAA, if there's something that would affect safety on an airplane, they're going to make every airplane of that serial number or every airplane of that model type to no longer be airworthy unless a maintenance technician goes in and changes those parts. So there's a seat back track on the Cessna 172s that used to slide away. You'd think that the seat back was locked down, but it wasn't. And then when pilots started to try to take off, the seat track went back and they're hanging onto the yoke, so they would try to pull back and it stalled. A few people crashed. That inspired the FAA to issue an airworthiness directive, and any Cessna that had those type of seat rails had to replace them. Until they were replaced, it was no longer airworthy. And then afterwards they said, not only did you replace it, but now you must inspect that thing every 100 hours. So that's a recurring airworthiness directive. If it's recurring, you got to include that in whatever maintenance time frame, whatever schedule that's there. Okay, that's your airworthiness directives.
Do they notify you somehow?
It's communicated to owner-operators, because remember, owner-operators person is required to maintain this thing. Pilot and command, there's no communication there to pilot and command. So I had a slide a couple days ago, and I'm fine if everybody didn't remember it, but it's the Airworthiness Directive Registry, and it's on the FAA.gov website. Bottom line is, if I'm going to fly an airplane that I'm not familiar with, I'm going to go to the FAA registry, and I'll look up any airworthiness directive that's done on that airplane, and then I'll go back into the logbook and see that they've been done. Okay? All right. Transponder tests and inspections every 24 calendar months. And I have a transponder test done every 24 calendar months. Okay, here's NTSB 830. It's relatively quick, but let's do this. I would like to put up here the certificates and documents that I need on board the airplane, which is, hang on a second, arrow. And required inspections, required maintenance. I'm going to have AV8. So these are the certificates and documents I need on board the airplane. Airworthiness certificate. This is why I make slides, because my writing is awful. I need a registration. I need a radio permit. If I'm traveling overseas, anywhere in the United States, the FCC considers that valid. It's an FCC regulated instrument. It's an FCC regulated transmitter, receiver. So inside the United States, I don't need that at all. Go outside the United States, a November registered airplane, I gotta have a radio station permit for the radio. I have a radio operator's permit for the operator. Okay. Operating what? Limitations. Operation limitations. That includes your placards, any combination of AFM, POH, all that. Any weight and balance. Okay. Certificates and documents that I need for the airplane. This one's maintenance. I need to have an annual inspection. I need to have a VOR check. I need to have, I know it's not an I, it's a 100-hour inspection. Get used to the acronyms. It gets even more fun. We'll have fun with acronyms tomorrow. No, Thursday. Altimeter. Altimeter. Transponder. ELT.
This is for hire. Yeah. This is for hire.
Nope. Okay. Some of it has some different spells to it. Like I said, on this one here for the radio permit, it's for international flights. So, okay. I need everything on here, but if I'm flying in the U.S., I don't need that. I need everything on here, but if I'm not operating for hire, I don't need that 100-hour. So I have my own airplane. I'm operating at 91. I don't need a 100-hour inspection. If I'm not operating using VORs as my primary mode of navigation, I don't need a VOR check. All right? Most pilots don't use VORs as their primary navigation because we have RNAV. Plus, if you're a VFR pilot, number one, you don't know how to use it, so you're not gonna, okay? And number two, you're not required to, so you're not gonna. An altimeter, I only need to have the altimeter calibrated if I'm flying IFR, because VFR, I don't need an altimeter calibration. We get one every 24 calendar months anyways. The airplanes that you fly are going to be used for IFR, VFR, all kind of stuff. Transponder every 24 calendar months, but only if I'm operating in airspace that requires a transponder. If I'm below 2,500 feet and outside of Class Bravo and Charlie and not above Class Charlie and not inside the Class Bravo 30-mile veil, then I don't need a transponder. Guess what? You can't go higher than 2,500 feet. You got to stay away from every major city. So you have every 24 months you have a transponder check. All right. Acronyms. I try to avoid the acronyms until a little bit later on, but then lo and behold, a quiz is going to come up and make me have acronyms, I'm sure. I don't know what this next one looks like. I'm excited to see. NTSB 830. NTSB, what's it stand for? Somebody, anybody? Smart group. These are the accident investigators, right? Accident investigations on Smithsonian's. Always got the NTSB. All right, National Transportation Safety Board. Immediate notification. When do I need to notify the NTSB immediately? Operator of any civil aircraft shall immediately and by the most expeditious means available notify the nearest National Transportation Safety Board field office when an aircraft accident occurs. So if you have an accident, and by the way, accident is legally defined in this document as well. So what exactly is an accident? I landed the airplane, a tire went flat, and I skidded off the runway and damaged some grass. Is that an accident? Well, I got to go to the NTSB and read exactly. Substantial damage to the aircraft or damage exceeding $25,000 to persons or to property, not including the aircraft. Okay. So, yeah, I got to go read if it's an accident or not. But there's some other stuff too. Operator of any civil aircraft shall immediately, same stuff, and by the most expeditious means, notify when an aircraft accident or any of the following serious incidents occur. Flight control system malfunctions or fails. So you apply flaps and you command flaps down, and one flap goes down, one flap stays up. You land, you owe a report, you owe notification to the NTSB. You have to notify them. When do I need to notify them? Immediately, and by the most expeditious means possible. Okay? We can't let them watch it on Channel 7 News that afternoon. Okay? And Channel 7 News is going to get there in probably about the same time you do. Okay? I don't know how they do it. If I have an in-flight fire, an aircraft is overdue and believed to be involved in an accident. And the joke that I always told everybody was, hey, listen, maybe he just wanted to go away. He's not in an accident. You don't have to notify the NTSB. He just wanted to get away from you. Okay? But if you think this person left and they're overdue and they did not, and you do not think that they meant to go, you think that they're in an accident, then that's immediate notification. All right, preservation. Prior to the time the board as authorized representative takes custody of the aircraft, nobody can touch it. The only reason I can touch it is to save life or anybody else from becoming further injured, to preserve the crash. Maybe they crashed and all of a sudden, the thing's burning, it's on fire. Well, I can put the fire out, okay? Or to protect the public from injury. So I can't touch it or anything else. Maybe distribute or remove it except for the extent necessary to remove persons injured or trapped, protect the wreckage from further damage, or protect the public from injury. Reports and statements. The operator of an aircraft shall file a report within 10 days. 10 days of an accident. You get 10 days after an accident. File a report. When do I need to notify the NTSB that the accident happened?
Immediately.
Thank you. Does everybody hear me now? Okay, because this one gets a little confusing. I just had an aircraft accident. All right? I look and make sure in the book. Yeah, 100% that's an accident. What do I need to do? Cell phone out, NTSB, call. I've notified. This is the most expeditious means available, and I did it immediately. Okay? When do I need to give them the report? The time to get a lawyer, right? Because I'm not going to talk to this person at the NTSB and, well, you know what? If that bird wasn't in the way and my wife was over there spilling her beer all over us, are you kidding me? Okay? So no, let them know the accident happened. Within 10 days, you owe them the report. All right, the operator of an aircraft shall file a report on an incident for which immediate notification is required, as requested by the authorized board. So that just goes back into the report for an incident with immediate notification is filed to the NTSB field office nearest to the incident. Who do I send this information to? I don't send it to the FAA administrator. I don't send that report to the ATC controller or the ATC manager. I send it to the NTSB field office closest to where that happened. If I live in Miami and then the crash happened in somewhere in Wichita, Kansas, well, I owe that NTSB the report, even though I've already gone back to Miami. Okay. Here it is, what we covered over the last couple of hours. Pilot and command, general operating rules, flight rules, equipment, instruments and certification requirements, special flight operations, maintenance and alterations, craft accidents, and overdue aircraft.
We have these classes in SkyEagle Aviation Academy. Check out please our website www.atp.academy for details.
It's the homework we're supposed to do. Ground lesson 9. Prep for the stage 2 exam. Tonight we're going to do stage 2 exam, or tomorrow. All right. Any questions? Yes?
Is there any way to lose the license? And,
Lots of ways.
Yes. Is there any way to get it back?
All right. Man, oh man. So, from experience, and only in efforts to help encourage safety and encourage cooperation, the FAA has a great deal of discretion when they're handling matters, and one of the primary elements of the inspector's ability to exercise that discretion is the airman's compliance and the airman's behavior during the investigation. So something happens, whatever, you don't think it happened at all, you get a letter. Well, look, AOPA has a legal services available for like an additional $49 or $50 a year, and you can get that. And for those first, something really simple that happens, they'll usually help you all the way through it. You don't have to say a word. You know, get a call from Inspector Gizmo, and Inspector says, okay, oh, well, sir, excuse me, I need to take down your information. I'm going to have my lawyer contact you. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye. Okay. And that's fine. This is how things work. There is nothing at all wrong with that. You've exercised your due diligence, and your legal responsibility at that point in time has been met. Unless they dig into this and find out that it was criminal or malicious or intentional. Any of that, yeah, you may probably never fly again, okay? But if you don't have a lawyer, which there's a way to do this as well, if you don't have a lawyer, compliance goes a long ways in this inspector's eyes. Now, they're the one with the discretion, so you catch this inspector and he just got divorced and life is terrible for him or her, whatever, they might just give you a 30-day suspension just because it was your bad day, okay? But generally speaking, that's not the case, and what they would do is, hey, hello, my name is Inspector whatever, I want to talk to you about something. Yes, sir, I was expecting this call. There, you know, something happened on this day. I remember that. I would like to cooperate. How can I help you? You know, well, we need to talk to you about this. Maybe, you know, hey, let's meet somewhere. Let's meet at the flight school. Let's meet at the airport. Let's have coffee at the terminal and let's chat. Get him somewhere where he's, even from my point of view, is get him somewhere where he's off record and face to face with you and not with 3 other inspectors sitting while you're on cell phone or on speaker talking to him, okay? But talk to him and be compliant. And normally what will happen if it's something unintentional, not criminal, not malicious, they're just going to say, hey, I got some safety slides I want you to look at, a couple tests you need to take online, and this goes away and it's gone. And you do it again and again. Oh, if it becomes a habit, you're in trouble. Eventually, you might get a 30-day suspension. Okay? You could get your certificates revoked. If the inspector calls you or makes contact with you and you say, you know what? I don't like the FAA anyways. I think all you guys are a bunch of suckers. Well, you may not ever fly again. And they do have, remember that Pilot Bill of Rights. When you talk to this inspector, you are putting everything that you have right there and saying, if you want it, take it. And there's nothing you can do it legally about that. Okay? Now, while we're on the subject, and it's important, kind of, you know, this is a realism type of deal. If I see that I've made a mistake, I could file a NASA report. It's aviation safety related, some kind of whatever in the world report. Professional pilots, people that fly all the time, especially with different flight crews, with students, with foreign pilots, good God, right? All kind of stuff. I'll have a bag of these reports with me at all times. And if something happens or goes wrong, I get on the ground and I go to the NASA website and I go to the safety report and, hey, look, on this date, this is what I feel happened. We were slightly out of compliance with this. We're humans, that'll happen. It was unintentional. I was attempting to do that. We did this instead, crew coordination. In the interest of safety, I did not feel the need to take the controls from the pilot, and you know, we were never near or in the vicinity of any other obstacle, terrain, feature, person, object, vessel, or aircraft. You know, just real simple, kind of easy. You can put it on speed save and then just copy and paste and make it right, whatever. That's your NASA report. You get a letter in the mail to wherever your certificate address is, and that letter in the mail includes a control number. Now, if the FAA contacts you and says, okay, here I am, Inspector, whatever my name is, and I want to talk to you about this incident, and honestly, today's my bad day, and I'm gonna suspend your certificate. On your record, it will show that you had a suspension. But when you appear to the FAA, and that could happen by mail, you don't have to physically go down there, but when you appear to the FAA, along with that document, you send the NASA report, and then they withhold adjudication. They do not execute the suspension. So you are not suspended. It'll show on your record that you were suspended. Okay? So just a couple of things there. Mostly it's not a problem. Unless you're out there being a real jerk, you know, it's not going to be a problem. Okay? But there's some inspectors that are kind of, you know, fun too. All right, any other questions?
Sorry, maybe I missed. What's the difference between NTSB report and NASA report? What you should do both NTSB report and NASA report?
No, the NASA report is never a requirement. An NTSB report is if you have an accident or a serious incident. That you have to file no matter what. A NASA report is something where, let's use an example of driving an automobile. I'm driving my automobile and I don't want to get in any kind of trouble at all with the police. But today, I just looked down and, oh man, I'm 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. I get it. I'm going to slow down. I'm back under the speed limit. Okay, everything's fine. Now I'm going to go home and I'm going to write this report. On this day, between these streets, at this point in time, driving this vehicle westward on such and such, I exceeded the speed limit in violation of such and that law by 5 miles per hour, and I'll never do it again. Click. Then you get a control number, and then They don't have ATC on the ground. But if that was recorded by ATC, which almost everything is, you could have a violation sent to you by flying the airplane. So if you got that violation, kind of a get out of jail card for you. But it still shows that you had the suspension.
Is the airspace classification the same outside the U.S.?
Yeah.
Any differ from the...
Yeah, so like in the Bahamas, for instance, they got a lot of Class Delta. I was looking over Moscow. It looked like there was some Class Charlie airspace here. So there are some classification airspaces that are similar, but the country that you're flying in, that country owns that airspace. So the FAA will have. If I'm flying a November registered airplane and I'm over here, I got to deal with whoever's here. You know, I can't.
Basically, what you told about airspace classification is the same in the whole world.
It's similar, but to fly to another country, you got to look under their rules specifically. Yeah.
Speaking of that, what happens inside this November registration plane? Is it even if the plane is overseas? Does it make sense to? I mean, does it happen on the U.S. territory legally?
Inside.
Inside.
Yes.
I kill somebody.
Then you're going to face U.S. charges.
US. Even if I'm.
Doesn't matter where you are. If you everybody hear that question, that's important. He used a dramatic example, but it gets everybody's attention usually. If I'm flying a November registered airplane, whatever occurs inside that November registered airplane, that's U.S. charges. Okay. Or U.S. legal. A lot of times the example that's used is a wedding. So if I take off and I get inside an airplane, it's a November registered airplane, two people get married, you can get married in the state of Texas flying right over here in Moscow. True story. Doesn't matter where. Doesn't matter what you have or what you don't have. You meet the legal requirements to get married over there, and you're up in that airplane, ta-da, you're married.
You'd better